Okay, I already know that question one is probably why on earth are you wearing sandals with jeans and a smart looking jacket? It's because I didn't come dressed smart, and I just thought maybe I'll try it out where I'm actually just wearing the stuff that I'm selling. So these jeans and this jacket is available online. It's on those rails. Anyway, let's get to what I wanted to talk to in this one today. So basically, at the minute, what I'm doing is I'm working out the plan of action for January. I think I might have mentioned in one of the videos before, but basically, let me just check my flyers up. Yeah, you got to always check with jeans. In January, what's going to happen is that the website is having a little bit of a rejig. It's going to have a revamp in terms of the brand name. And I'm also essentially creating a new business within a business. And I thought this is probably the best time to kind of like give some thoughts on where I'm at with what I'm doing and maybe a little bit of insight into the strategy plan that I do when undertaking tasks like this. So first things first, if you haven't got one, I'd highly recommend getting a whiteboard. Making notes on your phone is amazing. Using a document on a laptop in a coffee shop is also aesthetically pleasing and nice ambience. But this is the reality of it, because once you write something down like this, easily using diagrams and stuff like that. I mean, you might be able to do the same with an iPad, but I highly recommend this. So what I'm doing at the minute is I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, and that probably helps because you can't give away the new brand name and all that sort of stuff yet, maybe. But yeah, so what I'm kind of doing at the moment is I'm really trying to think about how the brand is going to look to all the people that already know the brand, but also those new people that I'm actually trying to attract. So one element of what I've had to accept is with having like an over 100,000 people on Instagram, for example, with this new direction, there's like a social presence that I'm having to take into consideration. But with that, I'm almost acknowledging and accepting that at least 10% of the people aren't going to like what I'm going to do. And it's not based on doing what people do, which I would recommend as well, decision trees, where you write something and then you give it two options and you keep going down to like the common denominator of things or like to an answer. I'm kind of just accepting that with this new direction that's going away from clothes but to be still related to clothing, there's going to be a lot of people whose common interest or what they like about what this is, or what they've liked about Gully, is that it's just clothing for a long time. Obviously, I've built an audience up since 2012. People change, times change, and most importantly, I've changed, the guy that's running the brand. And I think that's the key point. So two main factors with what I wanted to do with all of this stuff is like making sure I'm being consistent, but also making sure I'm being authentic to me with what I'm actually doing. Yeah, so without showing you the actual brand name. So these are sort of like the sort of stages that I've looked at with this new content focus. So like a social presence, a website presence, and the content. Don't comment on the fact that I don't join letters up, it's just the whiteboard pens. So like the social presence has short-term clips for YouTube, for Instagram, for TikTok, and then I have questions. In the same way with the website presence leads to the website placement with how it's displayed on the website, how the YouTube is connected, but also these are the same questions to kind of ask. So I get a lot of benefit from, I guess, outlining these ideas. Plus, how is the clothing going to connect with the new concept? Because whenever you add new things, you have to consider that. What I'm actually devising at the minute is essentially two businesses in one, where I'm integrating a content aspect into a clothing website. So a brand, but within that brand is also like an inventory of videos relating to what I will be doing all down here, about what it's been like to be in business, lessons I've learned. But the thing is as well, along the way, every single micro detail that I do, I'm being aware of the things that I don't want to be. So I'm like, I want it to be like how-to videos, but to feel, what have I put here? How to feel without teaching. Yeah, so like a how-to video without the element of teaching. Advice without a consultancy. Like they're things that I'm doing with other aspects. Like this channel, I want this to be like a way of using of informalities. I do feel like when I'm stood in front of a whiteboard, I'm giving a lesson. But like, this channel is like all about the informal thoughts and processes where it doesn't have to have a style of cut or any sort of aesthetic to it that's outside of what I want to do. And that's me being authentic to this. However, even with this, I'm being authentic whilst respecting a lot of people that show interest to a brand they've already seen. So to give you kind of some insight outside of this and maybe some advice with what I'm doing is at no point during my journey have I just been thinking I was taking photos of clothing that I liked and selling it. I've always wanted to have more behind that, because without sounding disrespectful, I think it's too two-dimensional for myself, and I don't think that gives you much of a unique selling point. It doesn't give you an angle of diversity, and when there's a lot of competition, you will just become swallowed up in the midst of all the same people with nice lighting and cool items of clothing. I feel like there has to be depth with it, personally. So personally, and based on my own opinion, my success has come from my innate need to have depth with what I've done, whether it's concepts, whether it's how I've used marketing, and so many other things that I'll probably break down in lots of other videos. But what I want to kind of like pass on here, the thought of why I've got the camera out to record it, is when you're in the middle of thinking about what your brand represents, or thinking about how you take the step from a bedroom to a brand to like a household name, whatever your direction and goal is, it's just really key to kind of like take the thoughts that you have and question them to the point where you understand every possible angle of the answer. So my first thought in the last few months, even maybe the last 5-6 months, since having to close the brand, I realized that I had to say goodbye to what once was with just selling clothes, because I fell out of love with just doing that. And maybe it was to do with the people I employed over the time, not really choosing people that were qualified people and just people that were friends, and building, running with spontaneity rather than running with a direction. And as a result, the clothing aspect, I feel, needs more depth for me, should I say. I'll go on then. If you've asked, this is the full outfit. I know I'm doing this shameless plug, and for all of you that see this, you might be like, oh no, don't do this. But you already know, I'm still a business. Look, these are 2 rails in a big warehouse. But yeah, just come and check it out if you want to. The link is down below, down there. But yeah, big love. Like beyond just making media content and stuff. So that's why I really want to add this personal element of brand and see how it goes. I think also what I'll say is, when you do something new in business or do something new with your brand, the whole point of trying something new is embracing the fact that it might not get received well. But like, that's the whole element of the risk. But you have to do these things to like, I feel like so many things I had to do along the way, I had to like accept the way things were. Even with Instagram, noticing that I don't really get that much engagement from what I've done because I employed lots of people, I wasn't able to just focus on buying trending clothes. Like, I knew exactly where the trends were, but I had to live within my means. I sacrificed buying expensive items for having a team of people that could help sell the items, because I valued people in that time more than I valued just selling clothing. So I'll just break down like kind of a few things that I've had to consider with this, and hopefully some of this might make sense to you. Also, these are both on the website if you think I look dashing. These are a 34, 32, and this is a jacket. I'm not going to be that guy that does loads of that, but obviously that is still what I do as well. But with this, so I'm kind of just like separating my gully as its pre-existing clothing aspect and all those things that are a maintenance standard that I have to keep with what I've done, alongside this new added context of content. So with that, I'm looking at the social presence, the website presence, and the content itself as 3 like separate elements, but with each of those elements, so the social presence is how I will take short clips from a YouTube, how it will be like Instagram, for TikTok. But then my questions are like, how often will I use these clips? Who's going to edit them? And have I got any actual goals or KPIs that I want to like implement into this? So like, making content this part is where you start to become a business. And this is where it's like nice, like lighter, gentle kind of creative ideas. This is the bit that's more enjoyable because it's like the new idea. But with every new idea, you have to like incrementally look at like, I guess, all these different points of what it actually means, where it's going to be placed. Because I have to consider for this new concept, not even just that, not the relationship that clothing has with this new content, which is this, but also how this new content is represented socially, how it's represented through the website, but what the content actually is. All alongside them all sort of being in harmony, connected. Because essentially, you're going to be able to go on the website and buy clothing, but also this content will be there. And it rattles my brain, and I think about it most of the time, and I kind of just, for me personally, I don't know how everybody else works with ideas, but sometimes if you've got an idea, it is good to write it out, but sometimes you don't need to necessarily rush to like writing the idea. I find sometimes I let things just permeate in my brain and kind of go, oh, okay, so I'm thinking about this. And then I see if that thought revisits, because you know how people say what's that cliche thing is, it's like when people forget what they were going to say, it's like, oh, if you didn't know what you was going to say, you didn't have anything good to say, which is a little bit unfair. But in the same way, like if the idea's really got some sort of static to it, it's going to return back in my brain because my brain constantly is thinking of all these things. So yeah, this is my little whiteboard thought and talk. I'll bring the camera a little closer. You might have already seen it actually. But yeah, this is a kind of like little look into, I guess, how the brain of me gets opened up and put onto a whiteboard. So yeah, hope you enjoyed.